Morning and good morning, Facebook, Twitter, everybody, all y'all out there, as they would say. Hopefully everyone's having a great Friday. Follow-up Friday is here upon us. Carlos will be joining us here shortly as well. He is currently en route from an appointment, but I wanted to at least hop on, and sorry I'm a couple minutes late. It's been at least a week or so since we were able to get online. We weren't online last week. So happy Friday to everyone. Hopefully everyone's having a great Friday so far and you're ready for a great weekend. Weather is phenomenal here. I know it's hot in other areas, but we'd rather have good weather than bad. Either way, right? We'll take it. I wanted to talk this morning a little bit about lead nurturing beyond the initial conversation. Obviously, from a follow-up standpoint, it's real easy to make the first initial call. But I think it's important to understand that, we're not always going to get a deal out of the first call. So, we often utilize an article, and I'll drop the link to this article as well into the comments. So feel free to, read it, follow along, whatever, when you have some time. But 50% of the leads are qualified but not ready to buy. So it's important to understand that, in statistics, there's something called a long tail. The long tail, when dealing with leads and following up with leads, we have to understand that the lead game is a long tail process. It's long tail. It's not a short tail. It's not a quick turn. Sometimes it's going to take some time to convert leads, and that's why the follow-up is so important. Because statistically, we know that 50% of the leads are qualified but not ready to buy right away. We also know that 50% of the sales happen after the fifth touch. So, that's real important to understand that, that we're not going to walk into a deal, right? It's going to require some level of follow-up. It's going to require some level of time. Some people just ain't ready to buy right now. They're not in a position to buy, or they want to wait, or they need to think about it. So these statistics are very interesting and very compelling when you look at it, that 50% of your leads are ready to go, but not ready to go. And then 50% of the sales happen after the fifth touch. And that's important because if we go back up and we look at this progression of a sale, this progression of a sale shows you very well the importance of understanding that. So, if we're dealing with a prospect, the first time we contact them, 43% of the salespeople will give up. They won't even go on to the second attempt. The second attempt, 68% of the salespeople will give up. The third attempt, 80% of the salespeople have given up. They won't go past a third attempt. The fourth attempt is when we talk about low-hanging fruit, and that's harvested there. Low-hanging fruit meaning by the time you made that fourth contact with that person, there's some deals that are going to fall off the tree, right? You've shaken the tree a couple of times. Some deals are going to fall off the tree. The fifth attempt, you're really getting to know the prospect and their needs. So let's keep this in mind here when we go back and look at the stats. 43% give up after the first, 68% after the second, 80% have given up after the third. And then we start getting some low-hanging fruit falling off the tree as we're walking by, right? Falling off the tree as we're walking by. So let's go back down and look at what that statistic showed. So if 80% of the people are giving up after the fourth attempt, it's important to understand that 50% of the sales happen after the fifth contact. So if you're one of those people that are reaching out and following up 5 times, $5 foot long, no, 5 times. If you're reaching out 5 times on a contact, you got a 50% opportunity above anybody else to close that deal, because 50% of the sales happen after the fifth touch. 80% of the people have given up after the fourth attempt. So think about that in terms of nurturing, in terms of understanding the follow-up and the value of follow-up and how you will build your pipeline and walk into deals simply because you're following up. And it's statistically proven. These are numbers that have been tracked and done years over years. This source right here is InsideSales.com. You've got Gleanster Research. This article, again, the article is in the comments. You can look at this and see the statistics are solid, right? So understand the importance and the progression of a sale. 80% of the people give up after the fourth touch. 50% of the sales happen after the fifth touch. So you want to be following up. You want to have a system in play that allows you to follow up at least 4 to 5 times. Ideally, you want to be more than that if you have to, but understand the numbers, and the numbers work in your favor when you start getting into the fourth, the fifth, the sixth contact. Those people who weren't ready initially now are ready. Maybe they got their money, maybe they got their credit up, maybe they've got the car taken care of, whatever the situation is in your particular area or field. Maybe they're ready, and the numbers don't lie. So not all leads are ready to buy right away. That doesn't mean they're not worth pursuing. So understand the value and the importance of nurturing your leads beyond that first call, that first discussion, the first conversation when they weren't really ready. Ideally, the first couple of discussions should really be about qualifying the prospect anyway, understanding their needs. I'll go back up again to the progression of a sale. And you see in the progression of a sale, it talks about, getting to know, you're really getting to know the prospect and their needs. That's after the fifth contact, right? Understand that qualifying is getting to know and understanding the needs of your prospective client. That's what qualifying is, right? If you look at the sales process, qualifying is one of the early steps in the process. So if it takes 5 contacts typically to get to know their needs and what their likes are and things of that nature, you're on a different level. So it's taking about 5 contacts before you really start to understand their needs. You've had some different discussions. You've talked about their kids. You've gone through the Ford model. Remember, the Ford model is FORD, right? Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And I'll drop that in the comments as well. That's the Ford model, FORD. Oops. Drop here. Hold on a sec. FORD. That's family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So that's a great model of discussion that you can work off of as you're making these contacts, as you're attempting to reach out to these people and building a relationship. Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. You should know about their family. You should know about their occupation, what they do. You should know about their recreation, what they like to do when they're not working. And you should know about their dreams. Those are all things you should certainly know about. And as you're building on the relationship, you should be gathering that information so that when you get to that point, you fully have qualified them because you understand and you know your prospect. That's nurturing. That's what nurturing a lead is. That's what it's all about. But it's about follow-up. It's about follow-up. So we have to stay in front of them, right? Part of nurturing is staying in front of your prospective client, staying in front of them, finding those things out. If you know when their birthday is, that's a great opportunity to reach out. You have a holiday that just passed, another one will be coming up. That's a great opportunity to reach out, right? So that is part of the nurturing process and helping us understand why it's important to follow up. And also once we understand the why, then it's probably a little bit easier for it to do. At least for me, it is. So the goal is to stay in front of the prospect in a way that's going to create a value rather than an annoyance. Well, how do you do that? Well, I just mentioned a couple of things. Birthdays. You got the prospect's birthday. You've got maybe their kid's birthday. Those are opportunities to reach out. You have holidays, right? Special days from the calendar. Those are great opportunities to reach out, not in an annoying way, but just to stay in front of them. You got informational updates. Many of us have auto emails or auto texts or things of that nature. Informational updates. I'm not really annoying someone when I'm providing a value add of information. So understand that we have informational updates. So those are some different ways where we can create value without being an annoyance. And that keeps us in front of the prospect, and that keeps us on target for this 50% target, right? Understanding that 50% don't buy right away, 50% will not buy until after maybe at least the 5th contact or the 5th touch. So understand that we have to have, each prospect has to have their own timeline, and they have to work their way into your pipeline, if you will. So it's important to understand, that you have to have a strategy in place in order to nurture long-term leads. It's going to drive your yield. It's going to drive your close ratios. because you'll have deals fall in out of nowhere just simply because you've been nurturing and you've been staying in front of the client, the prospective client, all along, 5, 6, 7 contacts, right? So understand that in order to do that, you have to have a system in place, right? We talk always about a system. So you've got to have a follow-up schedule, right? What is your follow-up schedule? Well, that's part of the reason how Carlos and I started this Follow-Up Friday 70 episodes ago, going into last year, 70 episodes ago. We started this by choosing Friday as our follow-up day, right? We established a schedule and we chose Friday as the day in order for us to get to what we've got to do. What's up, Carlos?
What's happening?
How we doing, my man?
Just trying to stay swimming above water.
Man. So I was talking a little bit about this article.
I'm hearing it.
Nurturing leads, nurturing leads.
Man, I saw that article when you said 50%. I've been saying that. On this Follow-Up Friday is that, typically it's 50%. 50% of your leads don't even do anything with you at first. I automatically, if I have a goal of 250 leads a month, I know that 50% of those things aren't doing anything.
Yep.
At first. Yep. I mean, even if they're all qualified leads, 50% of them, they give you the time or day, but they don't really do anything.
Yeah.
But then that's after those 50%, maybe another 50% probably gives you the time and day, and, fills out an application with you, or, whatever you're doing in your business, and then I go off of, out of those 50%, you try to get, 20, 20%, 25%, 30,
right.
Right. I shoot for 60, but yeah, but yeah, I saw this and I was like, oh, I love that. I live by that. I know after 50% of my leads, people that I've talked to, I got to keep following up those 50%.
Yeah, absolutely.
They won't ever die.
It's funny. Back in the days when we used to work off of dialers, right? It was still true even in that case, because 50% of the dials you wouldn't get through to anyone. You would never contact them. Wrong numbers, bad numbers, answer machines. You know what I mean? So you never really would contact them. So the 50% still works in this equation and makes perfect sense to me when I saw that as well, because that goes back to the days of a dialer, calling off of a dialer.
I used to make phone calls. And sometimes, see, people don't know. There's a lot of people that don't know there used to be a busy signal. Do you know the busy signal?
Yes, I do.
Beep, beep. But people never hear that on the phone anymore nowadays. There used to be a busy signal. I used to get those busy signals. And sometimes it's the recording, the line is disconnected. Well, somebody didn't pay their bill,
Yep.
And I would still keep those people on my list. And I would put on there that, phone disconnected or, busy signal. Some people used to take their phones off the hook so they didn't get those soliciting calls,
Yeah. Yes.
And, they used to just put the phone off and then they would be busy,
Yes,
and, there was no ignore button back then. So I don't know if I'm trying to age myself or what, but it was a busy signal, so I would still keep those people on my list, and I write a note, busy signal or disconnected, but I would always try to call it every so often, once a month or, every so often I would try to call it. If that phone number came back up, I'd get them, I would still try to get a hold of those people.
Carlos, you brought up some gems there in what you just said, man. Busy signals, no ignore buttons.
but you don't realize it. You don't realize that you get these leads, from people or just conversations, and you don't realize that 50% of those things don't do anything. But like you said, I love that. We need to customize that, the 7 touches or the 8 touches. What is that? 60%? What do you say? 80% don't. 68% of salespeople give up after the second. Yeah. I mean, that's huge.
That
You
is
know,
huge.
and I love the 80%, give up after the third. 80% of people give up. Those people get frustrated. I was trying to communicate that with you. I was listening to you.
Yeah.
But that's frustrating. People get frustrated if you don't just call them up and say, just like what you said, if there's a holiday coming up, or if you know a birthday, or if you know something's coming up, hey, go Chiefs, or go wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, at least call them and say hi.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, you can say, hey, is everything going okay? It doesn't have to be a sales pitch. It doesn't have to be do business with me.
That's right.
After that third contact, you got to keep going, 7 down. You got to keep going, and you can't give up. Even if it's just to say hi, how are you doing? And it's hot out there today, isn't it? Hey, summer's coming up. 4th of July is coming up. What are you doing for the 4th? It doesn't matter if they're buying today or in 1 year from now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it says. Like, Carlos, the thing that I really missed before when we looked at this compendium is this part about the contact 5, because when I saw that 50% happen after the 5th contact, I went back and read this. I was like, wow, look at that. You're really getting to know the prospect and their needs. And that's exactly what we have been talking about week in, week out, about reaching out for any reason, holiday, text, whatever, reaching out. It's because we're getting to know them and their needs, which is why it becomes so easy once we get down here. Once we get down here, it's so easy because that's what we're doing all along. We're really getting to know them through each touch point.
Right. And that's why, and look, it says 5 contacts. How long does it, there's some people out there, I'm telling you guys, there's some people out there that are 5 contacts. That's 5 months sometimes.
Yep.
And in 5 months, a lot of things can happen in 5 months. That's why I probably contact one person, the same person, 5 times in 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I keep calling them back. Hey, let me find out. Let me, even if it's information you might not know about what you're doing, hey, let me research that a little bit and let me call you right back. You know what I mean? Call them back. Give them a call. Call them 5 times in a couple of days or in a week. Call them 5 times in a week. Call them every day. Yeah. Communicate with them. Get to know them. Every single call, you need to get to know them. You need to learn who they are and what they do, and that's why that is great. You're really getting to know the prospect, but if it takes 5 times, don't do it in 5 months, don't do it in 1 year, do 5 contacts in a week, do it, I do it in a couple of days.
Yeah.
I probably call the people 5 times in a couple of days. Yeah. I even say to them, it's like, hey, I'm sure you're probably getting tired of hearing from me, but but every single time I talk to them, I try to get something to know them. It's fact finding, but I want to do it as fast as possible to build up that relationship.
That's right.
So that way I know that it's solid going forward, even if they don't do business with me today or tomorrow. Maybe it's not the right time. I just want it solid for the future. You know what I mean? So at first I do it real hard, a lot. I do it a lot at first, but then I know that it's solid. They know who I am. We've talked a lot. We've laughed a little bit, and then you got to keep it solid later. You got to build that trust fast.
Yeah.
So then that way in a month from now, 3 weeks from now, when you're calling them again, they know who you are. They'll answer your call. Maybe they added you to their contact list.
Yeah.
Whatever. I send people. I've been sending people my contact list from my phone.
Mm-hmm.
So then, typically, when somebody sends you a contact, you save it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully, when I send that information, they'll press save, and then I'll be in their phone when they call.
That's a good idea.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sometimes you're in their phone and they know when not to answer, but sometimes they know when.
Right.
And every time I call, I leave a text. There was somebody that I haven't talked to in a minute. And I called them and they didn't answer. They usually answer all my phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, they didn't answer. I'm like, okay, maybe they're busy. So I text them, nothing. Day later, I'm like, oh boy, I didn't hear from them. I'm going to try them again. I got to get this. You know what I mean? I got to get the relationship back up again. So I called them the next day. Didn't hear from them. Text them again. Didn't hear from them. I'm like, this is scary, because this is the person that needed to do business with me, and I haven't heard from them. I got tied up, and there's some things that a lot of business went flying around, and I got busy, and they got busy, and so then I called them again the next day, and she finally texted me last night. So and she was still interested. I was kind of scared. But she was still interested. But I called her every day, and I'm thinking, man, why is she not answering? She's either going to tell me she bought something, or she's going to say, I can't imagine her saying, leave me alone. But I had to get something out of her, and she responded, and she was still interested. So
nice.
But you just got to keep at it. Even if you're trying to refresh, you got to get a hold of that person just to know that, hey, are we still doing business? Are we still got a relationship going? Are you mad at me? But yeah.
Well, that's why it's important, because people have lives. People get busy. Things happen, right? I mean, situations come up. And so sometimes it's not a matter of they don't want to do business with us. Sometimes it's a matter of they just didn't have the time right now to talk. Just like that's the whole reason why this 50% makes sense. 50% don't buy. They're maybe ready. They're not ready, but they're qualified. That's why, because life happens, right? That's why it's so important to follow up, because just because they weren't ready to buy right now doesn't mean they're not going to be ready to buy in a week or 2 months or whatever. That's why it's so important to follow up, because life happens. This is a life happens type statistics, really. If you think about it, that's a life happens type of stat.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you got to understand everybody's life. Everybody's busy, I mean, but I love this 50%. People got to understand, and they got to get it through their mind, and they got to live with this 50%, and they got to live with that other, the contact. Those two are very important. You got to understand that you're not going to get everybody, right away. But those 50%, if you do your leads every month, you got to think, if you get leads every month and you have a goal, just like I said, you got to have a year monthly. You got to have a year leads, and then you got to backwards it, all the way down to per day, and if you have a goal every day, every month I have a goal. So I divide it by, how many days I work. So if you have a goal every day, you got to think, how many leads do I get in a month? If I get, like I said, if I do 250 leads in a month, I know that 50% of those things I got to carry over forever. You know what I mean? And then the next month, when I get 250 leads, 50% of those I got to carry over forever. So you should have a ton in your pipeline that you're going to start drooping. Every month it eventually comes out. I know you do. I know people. I work that way. You'll see. There's just like with real estate agents. If you have if you have so many applications going to a lender like you, and then, maybe that person doesn't buy, maybe they're in credit cleaning, or maybe they're, maybe not ready to buy, but, they start dripping out every month, and then that way you have more closings every single month,
That's what you say, Carlos, deals that fall out of nowhere.
Yeah. Because I keep telling people, it's like, that's what I love, because I love the fact that I build this relationship up with these people. I love 50% that don't want to buy right now. I love it. I absolutely love those 50%, because then they're going to feed me later.
Yep.
They're going to be there later, or they're going to refer me later. You know what I mean? But if you don't nurture those 50%, and follow up with them on a Friday, or follow up with them on one day, maybe you do it, once a month, you got to do it on a pattern. You got to build that, how your process works, it's once a week, once a month, whatever, but you got to build that up. And
that's what we were getting to right there when you joined, having a schedule. Go ahead, talk to that, Carlos.
Yeah. You got to have that schedule. You got to put it in your calendar. It's got to be something that you follow. Okay, these people, these 50% of people, which could be a lot for some people. Some people might do more than 250 leads. Some people might do 500 leads. I don't know, but you got to think 50% of those people are your future.
That's right.
I love them. I absolutely love them because you got to have that schedule and you got to know, okay, I'm going to put them in here and I'm going to work them, however it works for you, but you can't put it off. Yep. My biggest thing is however you set it up, however it works for you and your business. But for me, I try to do it. I try to make it thin. So I even if it's every single week, I call somebody, I call them.
Yep.
But that means I'm on the phone every day. I set a certain time up. My mornings are usually like after this call, they're usually my phone call time,
yep.
Yeah. But you're going to have a lot of calls to make every single day. And those 50% are going to start falling in because that gives me, it's job security for me. If I don't keep up with those 50% and put them on my schedule, you got to follow that schedule and if you follow it, it makes it easier.
Yep.
But if you don't follow it, then you're not going to have your future business and you're going to keep struggling every month, every week. You're going to I got to find some more business. I got to find some more business where 50% of your leads every month, every single month add up. At the end of the year, you're going to have a ton of leads those 50%.
Yeah.
You're going to have a ton of leads that you still have to work. You still have to follow up with. You still have to get them closed, or you still have to get referrals from them. They might not ever buy from you.
That's right.
Yeah.
It should be a follow-up call. I mean, checking in on people, seeing how things are going, especially, if things are going great. That's a hey, do you have anyone you can suggest that maybe I can call that might be looking for X, Y, or Z? Yeah. That should be a call.
It should be a call because, like I said, that 50% of those leads you might not ever do business with, or it might take 5 years to do business with them,
right?
With those people, but in 5 years you might have got 3 more people from them, family member, a friend, a business coworker, somebody they ran into, somebody, if you keep chiming in their ear, they know who you are and they know what you do. Someday down the road, they're like, hey, I know this guy does this. They might hear somebody that says, hey, Carlos makes banners. Somebody's like, hey, I need a banner to put out for this, or we have an event that I need some signs made. Hey, I know somebody that makes signs just because a guy I talk to, he calls me every week. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And it's just, you just got to keep up with, that's the relationship building.
Yeah. Right here, look, Carlos, the goal is to stay in front of prospects in a way that creates value rather than annoyance. It's part art science.
Right.
Art science.
And I keep saying that the annoyance part is you trying to sell them.
Yeah.
It is so annoying. I told one of my staff members the other day, 2 days ago, I told her, I said, just like the insurance, we go back to the insurance people. It's like, I did business with this insurance agent because she didn't bug me.
Right.
She didn't ask for my business every day.
Yep.
She didn't try to sell me every single time she called me. She cared. You know what I mean? She asked how I was doing. I told her, I said, she took me out to lunch for no reason. Hey, how are things going? Can I help you with your business? What can I do for you? What can I help with? What can I do an event with you? What can I do to get you more referrals? She cared about me and my business.
Yep.
And it wasn't, will you do business with me? Let me check your this. Let me check this. Let me check this. No, I called her out of the blue because I remember how easygoing she was, how, she wasn't asking for my business every single day, or she wasn't calling me just to get my business.
Yep.
That's the annoyance.
Yep.
Building up a relationship with somebody is the number one thing that you need to do.
you called her also because she stayed top of mind because she followed up with you.
She was always in front of me.
Yeah, she was in front
So
of you.
when I needed it, when it came down to it, I got these kids that grew up so fast, and they're driving. And then I go and get a rate from my insurance agent, and I'm like, whoa, I need to shop. I'm like, hey, you know what? I got somebody that I can shop with, because she was always in front of me.
Yeah.
And it's the relationship building that you need to do.
Yep, absolutely. No, that's exactly what this is about, right? It's like staying in front, have a reason to stay in front, understanding that there's a science to it, right? There's a science to contacting people. There's a science to nurturing. Nurturing is nothing more than following up. And so this article I thought would be really good to talk about today, because nurturing is a matter of following up. And if you're genuine, they'll be able to tell if you're genuine, right? And it's going to lead and yield some significant opportunities for us to work. Things are going to just drop into our pipeline later in the year because of our following up or our nurturing. You call it what you want to, but it's the same thing.
And nurturing, when I see nurturing, it's not necessarily just following up either. You have to do that in order to nurture them. Right. Following up, you have to call the people. Nurturing, to me, when I see that word, it's like, it's like your parents loving you. Yeah. When I see that word, I think of your mom taking care of you.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do, is take care of them. And that's what you need to do, is build that relationship up with them like your parents did with you.
Yep.
It's not easy to be a parent either. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like a parent and a salesperson. It's not easy. You got to build up that relationship with your kids, with your family. Nurturing to me is just building up the relationship with people. And in order to build up a relationship, you don't, just because you don't see them every day like you do your family, you got to figure out a way to stay in front of them. Hey, let's go have coffee. Let's go have lunch. And 50% could be a lot of people, that's where you got to come up with something creative. Have a text marketing, or have an event every so often, and invite those people that have never done business with you. Every single one of those people. I don't care if you haven't heard from them. Invite them every day. Yep. Every time you have an event, invite those people that you haven't heard from.
That's right.
Because they'll start seeing it. I noticed when I had networking events, and that was another big thing for me, is when I had events, I put on events all the time. My wife, it just killed my wife. She just hated me putting on events all the time, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work. But when I put those events on and I put it out there and I let people know, even that I've just met or talked to, never done business with me, I invite all those people. Bring your kids, bring your family. I want to learn, I want to, get to know them. Right. And eventually, those people didn't show. But the more events that I had, the more people that I saw, the more events that I did, and I kept inviting them, they eventually says, hey, Carlos is having this event this day. Carlos is having this event this day. Maybe they didn't make it. And then eventually I started getting calls that, hey, sorry, I didn't make it. I wanted to make it, but this came up. Yep. But then the next time they came, it might have taken, 5 or 10 events that I did. Right. But they came, and then when they come, they say, hey, I knew you were having this event this day. I kept watching out for more events because I couldn't make it this month, but I made it next month.
Yeah.
So you got to keep inviting them you got to have events every so often. Events are an easy way to get a lot of people together. Yeah, and like I said, when you got a lot of people in one place, then it's easier.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, agreed. No, it's important. I mean, that's the key. Like you said, I like how you said the nurturing is kind of like you think about that with a parent, and it's more than just just a cold call, right? It's like, especially when you get past the first and second and the third, it's not just a purpose to dial the phone, right? You're really trying to get to know the person, get to know their needs, invest in some time, getting to know them,
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's a purpose. You're exactly right. You got to have a purpose.
Yeah,
it's about the reason you're getting these leads is not just to close business. Right. It's future relations. It's future business. I heard an agent on Tuesday. This agent has 27 people that are in pre-approval for their houses that are pre-approved. 27 people. And he said, not every single one of them are buying today. So guess what? Out of those 27 people, they drip out every so often.
Yeah.
Next month. And you keep adding to that pile. You keep adding. Yeah. Eventually, eventually you start closing more deals every day, every month.
That's right. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. No, that's the key. But like I said, we need to understand that things drop out of nowhere, but they only do that if we put in the work. That's the only way it happens. We have to put in the work, and we have to understand that,
and it feels so good when that stuff comes out of nowhere, doesn't it, Stephen?
It does. It really does.
It gets you. I mean, look how excited you got after 1 year. I'll never forget it. You know what I mean? I guarantee you that stuff will happen more and more. I guarantee you you're getting it more and more. You're just not telling me. But I guarantee you you're getting more and more of these people that you haven't seen today or tomorrow or yesterday or day before yesterday or last month. You're getting more of these people that are from 6 months ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years. Like I said, I got people that call me that had a flyer, 2 years later, and that's what you got to do, I mean, you got to keep in front of people. And I'm telling you, nobody's perfect. It's a lot of people, if you're working leads every day and you're working leads every month, every year, if you think about it, if somebody sat there, backed up and thought about how many leads have I gotten? I got 50 this month, 100, 200 this month, 300 this month. Man, there's a ton of leads. And then you think after 1, 2, 3 years of doing this, holy cow, you know how many people I talked to?
Yeah.
How many leads I got?
That's right.
That's a potential future. That's your business that drips in, that starts falling in.
Yeah.
But if you don't stay in front of them, you don't qualify those 50 people, and you don't get on a schedule, and you just say, I haven't heard from them in 2 months. There's people that do it.
Yeah.
There's people that just fall off. I hear it ever since we've been talking about that. How many times they contact them. If they haven't heard from them in a couple times, 2, 3 times, they're just dead.
Well, that's how, and you know what? We get deals sometimes by calling that first time. Part of the reason sometimes we get the deals, maybe they went with someone else.
Right.
And by following up and making the second and the third call, we realize that, oh, wait a minute, there's still an opportunity because that person didn't make a second or third call. They never followed up with them.
Yeah. Not only that, but it's, a lot of my 1s and 2, a lot of the people that I do business with right now are people that didn't follow this schedule, that didn't follow up with them 7 times.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love it because I pick up all that. You know what I mean? But you do. But it happens. It's there. I'm a perfect example. I am a perfect example. I get in the real estate business, and my first deal. It was my first deal, I think. My first residential deal was somebody that did not follow up with them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's a big difference. So I agree. Well, the takeaway is, is staying in front of the prospects. It creates value rather than annoyance, and that leads to deals falling through for others and falling in our hands because we followed up. So, that's the key. It talks about if real estate is about location, lead nurturing is about follow up. So we'll leave that. I'll drop that comment in there as well. It's a good comment because you're right. I mean, you're in real estate, so Carlos, it's all about location. And in our business, of those of us who rely upon leads and things of that nature, it's about follow up. So that's all I have. We're at 10 o'clock. I got to jump off because I got another call at 10 o'clock. But
Okay.
It's been a good follow-up Friday, as they all are, my friend. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right,
See you
take
later.
care. We'll see you, man. Bye-bye.